All right, let's dive right in. We're about to explore this absolutely incredible, microscopic world well, it's happening inside you right now. Think of it like a tour of a bustling metropolis, a city that is the very foundation of you.
I mean, really let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about one city. We're talking about trillions of them, all working together, perfectly in sync, to make you, well, you.
And yeah, just like any big city you can think of, every single one of these little guys has its own infrastructure. You've got border patrol, power stations, super complex transport networks, and factories that are always buzzing with activity. This is the story of the cell.
Okay, so where do you start with any city? With the blueprints, right? Let's take a look at the fundamental plans, the basic design that applies to every single one of these amazing microscopic worlds.
So, what exactly is a cell? Simply put, it's the smallest possible unit of life. It's the absolute basic building block. And the name? It actually comes from the Latin word for small room. See, when the scientist Robert Hooke first spotted them, they reminded him of the tiny rooms that monks lived in. And that's what a cell is, really. The essential small room where all the action of life happens.
Now here's the thing. It doesn't matter how different they look or what their job is. I'm talking from a simple little bacterium all the way to a complex neuron firing in your brain. Every single cell has three core things in common. There's an outer boundary, the cell membrane, a jelly-like filling called the cytoplasm, and of course, the master blueprint, the DNA.
Now, when it comes to the city plans, you've basically got two main designs. On one side, you have your prokaryotic cells. Think bacteria. These are kind of like simple, efficient studio apartments. Everything's just out in one open space. But then on the other side, you have the eukaryotic cells. These are the kind you and I are made of. And plants too. Think of these as sprawling mansions with tons of different rooms. We call them organelles. And each room has a very specific job. And most importantly, there's a central command center, the nucleus. All right, first stop on our city tour. We're headed to the border, the very edge of the city. This is the line that separates what's inside the cell from, well, everything else.
And this border is called the cell membrane. Now don't picture a big, rigid wall. It's much more sophisticated than that. It's a smart, flexible barrier. And its most important job? It's selectively permeable. That's a fancy way of saying it's a super picky gatekeeper. It has total control over what comes in and what goes out.
Scientists have a really cool name for this structure, the fluid mosaic model, and it fits perfectly. It's built on this flexible double layer of things called phospholipids. These little molecules have a head that loves water and a tail that hates it, which naturally creates this amazing self-sealing barrier. And floating around in this fluid sea are proteins that act like channels and pumps moving stuff in and out. And then there's cholesterol, which is kind of like the security guard, making sure the membrane doesn't get too runny or too stiff. So yeah, it's way more than a wall. It's this dynamic, intelligent surface that's constantly moving and working.
Okay, we've cleared border security. Now, let's head downtown, to the industrial heart of the city. To really get how this place works, we're going to follow the most important manufacturing process it has, building proteins. This whole assembly line has 4 main stops. We'll start in the main office, the nucleus. Then we'll visit the factories, the ribosomes. From there, we'll travel along the highway system, the endoplasmic reticulum, and we'll finish up at the shipping department, the Golgi apparatus.
So, our journey kicks off right here, in the city's command center, its brain. The nucleus is where the master blueprint, the DNA, is safely stored. And from this office, it sends out all the orders, all the instructions for what the city needs to build and when.
Okay, so those instructions, those work orders from the nucleus, they get sent out to these tiny little construction workers called ribosomes. Think of them as the factory floor. They meticulously read the blueprints and start assembling the proteins, one piece at a time.
Now, some of these little factories just float around on their own in the cytoplasm. But a whole bunch of them attach themselves to this huge network of membranes. It's called the endoplasmic reticulum, or just the ER for short. And the ER is basically the city's highway system. It's a whole network of tunnels and passageways that helps transport those brand new proteins to their next stop.
After their trip along the ER highway, the new proteins arrive here, at the Golgi apparatus, for some final touches. You can think of the Golgi as the city's post office or distribution center. It's where proteins get modified, sorted, and packed up in little bubbles, all ready to be shipped out to their final destinations.
But, a city is way more than just its factories.
To keep everything running, you need two crucial services: a reliable power grid and a really good waste management system.
All this building and shipping and sorting takes a ton of energy, and that's where the mitochondria come in. These are the powerhouses. Through a process called cellular respiration, they take the food the cell consumes and convert it into something called ATP. ATP is the universal energy currency that fuels literally every single activity happening in our city.
And then you've got the lysosomes. These are the city's sanitation department and recycling crew all rolled into one. They're basically little bags filled with powerful enzymes that just chew up and break down everything: waste, worn-out parts, even invading bacteria. But they have another, more dramatic job. If a cell gets too old or damaged to be fixed, the lysosome can actually burst and digest the entire cell from the inside out. It's a clean, efficient self-destruct sequence. Kind of intense, right?
All right, so we've had a pretty good tour of the basic city plan, the eukaryotic cell. Now let's check out two specialized models, the animal cell versus the plant cell.
So they have most of the same stuff we've already talked about: a nucleus, mitochondria, the whole deal. But there are three major differences you got to know. First, plant cells have a super rigid outer wall for extra support, something animal cells don't. Second, they have chloroplasts. These are like tiny solar panels that let the plant do photosynthesis. And third, they have this massive central vacuole, which is basically a giant water tank that helps keep the plant from wilting.
Okay, so we've explored a single one of these microscopic cities. But that raises a big question, right? How do you get from just one cell to something as incredibly complex as a human being?
Well, it all comes down to levels of organization. Think of it like this. A single cell is like one brick. When you group a bunch of similar bricks together to do a job, you get a wall. That's a tissue. Then you assemble different types of walls in a specific way to build a room. That's an organ. And finally, when you put all the rooms together working in perfect coordination, you get the entire house, the organism.
And that's you. That's exactly what you are. You're this magnificent living structure built from trillions of these tiny, unbelievably intricate cities. They all work together to form your neighborhoods, which are your tissues, and your megastructures, your organs, all of it making up you. I mean, just think about it. From that smart, selective border patrol at the cell membrane, all the way to the bustling, non-stop production lines deep inside, it's a system of just mind-boggling complexity. And this isn't just a story. It's all happening trillions of times over inside you at this very moment. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does all this harmony, all this complexity, what does it really tell us about life itself?